Merry Christmas, soldiers, and welcome to Reliving the War, episode 268. This week, Nitro's off TV because those guys actually care about spending time with their families over the festive season. So we've got an unopposed Christmas Day Raw from Chattanooga, Tennessee. This show is taped on the 22nd of December. We aren't live tonight, pal. And we do need some festive cheer after checking out that last episode of Thunder, so let's get started. Stephanie Santa McMahon comes down to the ring, and after what she did last week, she's obviously feeling all smug. She says her dad isn't here because he's helping the homeless at a soup kitchen back in Greenwich. Yeah, I can just imagine Mr. McMahon handing out food to the needy. And as for Big Linda, well, Stephanie made Linda a special cake over the weekend. A fruit cake, because she's going a bit mental, you see. On SmackDown this past week, Rock and Undertaker lost their tag team belts to Edge and Christian. I told you it wouldn't take too long. And Stephanie points out that there was a little hostility between the American Badass and the People's Champion. Both Rock and Undertaker are probably wondering who the better man is between the two. So Vince McMahon has sent an order from the soup kitchen. In the middle of feeding a few hobos, Mr. McMahon's booked The Rock vs Undertaker for Raw tonight. Stephanie then welcomes Edge, Christian and Kurt Angle down to the ring, and Edge wants to give Stephanie some huge jollifications while wishing her a Merry Christmas. I'm sure Triple H gives Stephanie some huge jollifications every single night. Edge says it's a shame Mick Foley isn't here tonight, seeing as he got fired last week, and Christian says Foley should have been fired here in Chattanooga amongst his people, these fat, ugly, toothless people that have shown up to Raw tonight. Captain Charisma wants the, quote, Gods of the Titantron to show a replay from SmackDown. It's Kurt Angle screwing Rock and Undertaker out of the tag team belts. And Kurt says it really is a time for celebration because Edge, Christian and Kurt himself are standing in the ring with all this WWF gold. Angle's in the Christmas spirit, he loves spending time with his fans, but the people of Chattanooga are really smelly. So Kurt's flew his family out to Raw this week and we get to see the whole Angle clan. Wow, Mommy Angle was busy during her active years, wasn't she? There's Eric Angle, Richard Angle, Sammy Angle, Jimmy Jack Angle, Billy Bob Angle, Percy Picklefuck Angle. They're all here. One of them's actually an Angle cousin, but that's just what Mummy Angle told young Kurt. Kurt says if you combine all the Angle family's accomplishments, you'll get 14 All-American honors, 16 state championships, 4 hot dog eating contest winners, and 20 unresolved child support cases. It's the best family a man can have, and to show how great they are, Kurt makes his family sing Walking in a Winter Wonderland while Christian plays his kazoo. Walking in a winter wonderland. Party pooper Chris Jericho shows up. He says the Angle family are a bunch of nerds. He wants these guys to shut the hell up, and he goes on to once again call Steph a dirty, bottom-feeding, trash bag hoe, all that stuff. She'll never escape this, will she? Y2J says he wants a shot at Angle's WWF title. He gets denied by Steph, but Little Miss McMahon will book a 6-man tag against Angle, Edge and Christian if Jericho can find himself 2 partners. I was thinking to myself, there's no way they're going to run back the babyface picking the Dudley boys to help him in a 6-man tag, but that's exactly what happens. Jericho tells Edge and Christian to bring the kazoos because Y2J's partners are going to bring the tables. Backstage, the Angle clan run into K-Quick. They all say hi K-Quick in unison, which is kinda creepy. And K-Quick says, now that's what I call a very white Christmas. Jerry Lawler wonders what this means, and Jim Ross doesn't say a word. Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko had a match against the Hardys next. Matt didn't want Lita to stand at ringside for this match for her own safety, but Lita wouldn't listen. So Team X-Treme made their way down to the ring and we start off hot with Jeff jumping off his brother's back and the Radicals get wiped out. A dragon screw from Benoit puts Jeff down inside the ring and the Radicals are going to focus on Jeff's leg and knee. Pretty sure we've seen this before. Dean Malenko tags in and it's some basic stuff here as the body part gets worked over, and already Matt's desperate to tag in. You know, that's something else I've taken away from the whole Monday Night War, how incredibly routine tag team matches had become during this era. WCW's tag team matches are less formulaic because referees don't really give a fuck about the rules and what have you, while WWF tag team matches rarely deviate from the usual hot tag routine. A double dropkick provides Jeff with a break, Matt comes in to give the Radicals a beating, everyone gets in the ring while Jeff more or less forgets to sell the injured leg, and the Hardys have to cheat to get themselves a victory. Lita comes in to hit Dino Machino with a low blow and Matt follows up with his top rope leg drop. So the Radicals got screwed on Christmas, and not in a good way. To try to get back some festive cheer, Dean puts Matt in the cloverleaf after the bell. Lita tries to save her little Hardy Boy, but Benoit ends up putting her in the crippler crossface. To be honest, Team X-Treme totally deserved it, so I have no sympathy whatsoever. The fight continued backstage after Benoit moved off to Lita. Matt charged at Chris and the two had to get separated. Michael Cole lets The Rock know that he's got a match tonight against the American Badass, something that makes Rock stop in his tracks, but he doesn't say a word. Kevin Kelly wonders what Deborah thinks about Vince McMahon keeping her on as WWF's Lieutenant Commissioner, and she honestly doesn't know what to think. She looks a bit stoned to me, but it is Christmas after all. Everyone gets a pass tonight. She says she misses Mick Foley. Foley made her job fun, but now it kinda sucks. She does want to make Mick Foley proud tonight though by carrying on his legacy, and her way of doing this is by booking a triple threat hardcore match. Steve Blackman versus Raven versus Bubble Buddy Bob Sparky Plug Decorate Your Balls with Hardcore Holly. A weird way to honour Mick Foley, but I'll take it. Vince McMahon phoned Stephanie while stuck in traffic. My eyes are up here. Apparently the homeless people around the soup kitchen have really nice cars, but Stephanie hears a female voice saying, "Mr. McMahon, this is so much fun," and Steph wants to know who the voice belonged to. Vince says it was just a homeless lady who got a little giddy after too much soup, and he quickly hangs up the phone. So no doubt Vince is being a Christmas creep, and you wouldn't expect anything less. On SmackDown, Kane attacked Steve Austin, and Austin thought Mr. McMahon had something to do with it. Austin approached McMahon. Vince said he didn't tell Kane to do anything, but he promised to book Austin vs Kane for Raw tonight. So Stone Cold says he's gonna give the Big Red Machine the gift that keeps on giving, a good old can of whoop ass, and that's the bottom line cause Stone Cold said so. Next up, we've got that triple threat hardcore match in honour of Mick Foley. The hardcore title is up for grabs, so Blackman brings the belt, Raven brings the toys, and hardcore brings, I don't know, big buck teeth. Holly uses some trash can lids to great effect. Both Blackman and Raven take shots, but it takes more than that to hurt Sensei Blackman. Raven uses a fire extinguisher because Blackman's on fire right now, and we then go through the audience while the men continue to hit each other with trash can lids. You gotta be fair, I give WCW a lot of flack for putting on repetitive hardcore matches, but the WWF can be guilty of the same thing. Trash can lids and fights in the audience can be pretty commonplace. Sensei takes a pretty rough bump at the guardrail, but he was just checking out how sturdy it was. The men then go backstage where they beat up a few innocent bystanders for no reason at all. And our match is going to end outside the arena where Raven gets pushed down a flight of stairs. Blackman pins Holly after suplexing him on top of a car, so the great Steve Blackman retains his hardcore title, and he went back to the dojo to meditate the whole way through Christmas. This is what I would be saying if Raven didn't cheap shot Blackman from behind to win the hardcore title under the 24/7 rule. So Sensei Steve retained his belt and then lost it minutes later. Steve's gonna go back to the dojo, he's gonna play It'll Be Lonely This Christmas over and over again while staring at a picture of the hardcore belt, and then, ladies and gents, he'll plot his revenge. Kane vs Steve Austin's up next, but William Regal wants to speak a few words before we begin. He talks about Christmas dinner at an American household, how these people are going to stuff their faces and sit around the table belching and farting on one another. Kane actually really enjoys belching and farting, so the Big Red Machine comes out and Regal decides to run away and join the commentary table. Stone Cold makes his entrance, the crowd goes nuts. It's all Austin here with Kane getting rocked in the corner, Austin performing a clothesline, and Kane falling victim to the dreaded leapfrog teabag. We go outside where Stone Cold manages to take out both William Regal and the Big Red Machine, and when Regal makes it back to the commentary table, he can't believe this heathen named Steve Austin would attack him on a joyous occasion like today. In the ring, Kane performs a big boot. He tries again, but he's unsuccessful. He still manages to bring Austin to the ring post where Stone Cold gets his leg wrapped around the steel, and William Regal's very pleased when Kane performs his flying clothesline. Austin continues to get demolished with a backbreaker, a suplex, and a big old bear hug. He fights out with a few right hands, and the crowd make a lot of noise for the Luthez press. Regal looks like he smelled something really bad, and that's because JR just shit himself. Back in the ring, we see a Stone Cold Stunner from the Texas Rattlesnake, but the no good William Regal tries to interfere. Austin does fight him off, but the European champion gets in the ring and this results in a DQ finish. Kane and Regal do a number on Austin. Willie decides to head outside and grab a chair. This wasn't a very smart move because Austin's able to take control of that chair, and both William and Kane get some Christmas presents from Stone Cold. The guys get wiped out, glass shatters, plays in the arena, and Austin has a celebratory tipple at the entrance stage. The Undertaker, who really likes walking up and down staircases inside arenas, isn't surprised that he's facing The Rock tonight. Undertaker says he doesn't like Rock, The Rock doesn't like him, the dead man wants to fight on Christmas night, and that fight's going to happen in the Undertaker's yard. It's two dogs in the ring, one's all bark and the other's all bite. And the Undertaker will make The Rock famous in our Raw main event. Back in the arena, the cat comes out to give our commentators some Christmas gifts. She bought a Divas videotape for JR, and Jerry Lawler, well, he gets to see the cat's Christmas lingerie. Jim Ross felt a bit ripped off here. Stephanie McMahon looks for Trish backstage. Tess and Albert say they have no idea where she is, but when Steph leaves, Tess says he reckons Trish is at a certain soup kitchen tonight. He's a very smart man, is our Test. The boys then went to the ring to face Too Cool, and Stephanie must have gotten word the Test was talking smack, because she came out to get a closer look at the action and she cost TNA the match when she grabbed Tess from the outside. This allowed Grandmaster Sexay to roll Big Andy up, and Stephanie looked very pleased with her actions. Albert decided to approach Stephanie backstage without Tess' knowledge. He said his tag team partner's a hothead sometimes, and he says he doesn't know if the rumours are true about Vince and Trish, but if Stephanie needs anything at all she has to do is ask Big Prince Albert. Looks like we could be seeing the end of TNA. Mummy Angle loved hearing her boys sing earlier on, though Percy Picklefuck was slightly out of tune. Apparently, Mummy Angle thinks Kurt was the best singer of the whole clan, and I'd be inclined to agree. But Kurt has to get himself to the ring right now for our next match. It's Angle, Edge and Christian versus Chris Jericho, Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley. If you ever need a tag team for a 6-man tag, the Dudleys will be happy to oblige. The Angle clan are going to sit at ringside for this one. Christian and Jericho start us off. Jericho performs a flying forearm before looking for the walls very early, though he has to settle for a catapult. We then move to Devon and Edge very briefly, with Devon maintaining control, and Bubba Ray comes in for a stun gun before telling Devon to head upstairs. The Dudleys perform their "was up" headbutt. It's already time to get the tables, but there's always a 50-50 chance that someone will stop Devon from getting those tables, and that's exactly what happens this time around. Christian goes on the attack, but the table stays set up on the outside. Back in the ring, we build towards some hot tags. The crowd make a lot of noise when Jericho and Angle enter the match. Y2J's like a house on fire and he puts Kurt down with a double underhook backbreaker, and he sends Kurt to the outside right in front of the Angle family. Kurt's clan end up getting involved. The guys go after Jericho while Eric Angle thinks he can take on the Dudley boys. Unfortunately, Eric thought wrong and he ends up taking a powerbomb through the table, and the Dudleys end up fighting with Edge and Christian all the way up to the rampway. Jericho goes for the lion salt back in the ring, Angle counters it, and Kurt ends up winning with an Olympic slam. Merry Christmas, Kurt Angle. The Angle family get in the ring to celebrate. They hold Jericho in place, which allows Angle to get in a few cheap shots. Jericho gets beaten up pretty badly before the Dudleys head back to the ring, so a very successful night for the WWF champion. Eric, however, has been messed up pretty badly, and the tag team champions promise to get some revenge for Angle's fallen brother. Next up, we've got another tag team match, the Goodest of Fathers and the Bullest of Buchanans taking on the APA. Bull Buchanan wonders how an APA shirt that says "always pounding ass" can be sold on the internet, and yeah, many of us were wondering the exact same thing. Bull wants the fans to turn away from the internet, turn away from the WWF propaganda, and the Goodfather says the World Wide Web only exists as a haven for filth. All depends what kind of sites you go on, mate. But basically, the Right to Censor are going to try to close the whole internet down, but defenders of the web, Bradshaw, Farouk and their new valet Jackie will save the information superhighway because they really like downloading movies for free. This was a short match that included Bradshaw dominating Goodfather with a corner clothesline and a back suplex. Farouk then came in only to get kicked in the head. Buchanan tried to get cute with a backbreaker to Ron, so our main man replied with his signature spinebuster, and Bradshaw came back in for the match finish. Buchanan takes a back elbow, a Russian leg sweep, and a big top rope shoulder block from JBL. Ivory tries to get on the apron and her timing was a wee bit off, but it doesn't matter. Jackie makes easy work of the women's champion, while back in the ring, Goodfather takes a clothesline from hell. Stevie Richards gets in and he tries a Stevie kick. He too takes a clothesline from hell, but then the evil Val Venus gets in the ring to hit Bradshaw with a DDT. This allows Buchanan to pull off his scissors kick, and so the Right to Censor win another one on Monday Night Raw. They're one step closer to destroying the internet for good. Send help. Someone who's not feeling all Christmassy this year is Chyna. That pile driver she took 2 weeks ago's left her in a soft, squishy neck brace, and when interviewed by JR earlier today, she said she lost feeling in her arm after taking the move. WWF doctors thought it could have been some sort of nerve damage, but when Chyna went for an MRI, she found out she had 3 ruptured discs in her neck. Chyna was given 2 options: never wrestle again or have neck surgery, and still never wrestle again. Pretty easy decision if you ask me. Not sure why the doc didn't give her 3rd option: wrestle anyway and end up in a wheelchair. JR says it's all good. Chyna has a lot to fall back on with her Playboy photo shoot, her book coming out, and her appearances on Third Rock from the Sun. But Chyna's annoyed that the right to censor have taken her out of the ring and taken her life away from her. She does hope to come back to the WWF in maybe a backstage role or as someone who doesn't have to compete in the ring, but she's upset that she can't step inside the ropes again to get revenge for what the RTC did to her. It's time for our Raw main event, The Rock vs The Undertaker, and before we get to the ring, The Rock says he's not afraid of The Undertaker. He can see through Vince McMahon's little game as it pertains to the chairman booking this match, but The Rock's afraid of no one. It is Christmas though. Rock doesn't want to talk about scary stuff, and instead he wants to share a cheery little Christmas story named Rocky the People's Reindeer.
You see, Rocky the People's Reindeer was very large and very tall. And unlike Kevin Kelly, he actually had a set of balls. All the other jabroni reindeer used to be so jealous and look at him in vain because they couldn't stand the fact that all the people would be chanting Rocky's name. Rocky, Rocky, Rocky. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa was drunk and full of gas, so Rocky took his big bag of toys and shoved them straight up Santa's candy ass.
Rock tells Undertaker to never forget that the dead man's yard is in the people's planet, and the Great One wishes Undertaker a Merry Christmas. Limp Bizkit's Rollin' plays in the arena as the dead man drives his eco-friendly moped down to the ring. Here comes The Rock, and right now, at this point in time, The Rock is more popular than The Undertaker. The fans chanted Rock's name when the match was made official earlier on, and when the two square up to each other in the ring, the fans once again favour Rocky. It's The Undertaker who strikes first though, and Rock takes a few shots in the corner. Rocky gets punched so hard that he falls out of the ring, and Taker keeps his momentum going when the two brawl on the outside. Rock gets beaten up at the guardrail, he gets beaten up at the announce desk, but back in the ring, he comes back with a jumping clothesline and a swinging neckbreaker. The Undertaker isn't going to go down so easily though, and while Rock does avoid snake eyes, he doesn't avoid a big boot from the dead man. Rocky then gets beaten up in the corner before The Undertaker performs his sidewalk slam, and it's clear that The Undertaker's favouring a more slow and methodical approach here, which the crowd isn't digging too much. This is all by design though, because when Rock gets little moments to perform explosive offense, such as this DDT, the crowd react very favourably. To emphasise this, The Undertaker stretches Rock out on the mat, and when the two get up, he puts his opponent in a bear hug. The bear hug stays applied for ages, but when Rock fights back with a few right hands, the crowd's brought right back up again. Taker performs his running DDT, he looks to end it with a chokeslam. More right hands from the People's Champ ensures that doesn't happen, and it's now time for a rock bottom. Taker avoids it with a back elbow, and he manages to pull off that chokeslam after all, and so The Rock's now getting prepared to take his last ride. Unfortunately, Rikishi, a man who can't keep his nose out of Rock's business, shows up and Taker doesn't perform his finishing move. The Big Goose gets knocked off the apron, and this results in the dead man taking the Rock's spinebuster. The crowd goes nuts as they think they're going to see the People's Elbow, but Rikishi low bridges his cousin, and this makes Earl Hebner call for the bell. What a crappy way to end the final Raw match of 2000. Rock gets attacked on the outside before Rikishi puts him back inside the ring. The big man then attacks both Rocky and Undertaker, and both men end up getting squished. That's the end of Raw this week, folks. Imagine expecting a nice feel-good moment at the end of Christmas Day Raw, and instead you get a big Samoan squashing two babyfaces with his giant butt cheeks. Some good stuff here, and I got a kick out of the Angle family being as ridiculous and silly as Kurt Angle himself. The Kane vs Austin match was good fun too, and all in all, it wasn't a terrible episode of Raw. The main event, however, had a really poor finish, and I understand the WWF wanting to protect Rocky and Undertaker, but having Rikishi come out to end the match probably wasn't the best way to go about things. I also know he's looking for revenge after what The Undertaker did to him at Armageddon, but let's be honest folks, Rikishi's heel run's been pretty weak, and this is a dude who was given a golden opportunity, what with the storyline he was added into. I said it before though, it never should have been Rikishi who ran Stone Cold down. I'm not sure who it should have been, but it shouldn't have been Rikishi. Again though, a decent enough episode of Raw. The festive stuff was kept quite minimal, so if you're a total Grinch, you probably wouldn't be too annoyed. If you're the exact opposite and you enjoy wrestling shows with a holiday theme, then you can do better than this episode of Raw. Next up, soldiers, is another episode of WCW Thunder, and then Reliving the War next Thursday will once again feature an unopposed Raw. The Thunder episode actually happens after Raw, but it doesn't matter really. It's not like both shows are intertwined, and we're long past the days when WCW used to make reference to the WWF anyway. Watch the videos in whatever order you please. But this marks the end of Reliving the War 2000, so thank you very much for not only watching today's episode, but for watching every episode covering the year 2000. There were a lot of highs for the WWF, a lot of lows for WCW, but we got through it with minimal battle scars. Good job, soldiers. See you next week, everyone, and if you think I've earned it, please remember to hit the subscribe button. Take care.